Before we start today's podcast, we just want to make this clear. The things said on the podcast today are purely based on personal opinion and first-hand experience of myself and our guests. We always suggest that you follow the advice of your healthcare professional. This podcast is not deemed to be biased or in a reflection of a personal experience.
Welcome once again to Topics and Tantrums podcast. Today's topic, an experience with COVID. Good vibes and positivity to all our listeners. Gabs, how you been?
It's been a roller coaster as of recently, as you know, but that's okay. That's life and we're rolling on. How about you?
Very well, thank you. Enjoying my seat on planet Earth. Let's not beat around the bush today. We'll introduce to our podcast our first guest, your fiance Marto, who I guess is the center of today's topic. Marto, how are you?
Hello. Yeah, good. Good considering all that's been going on over the past few weeks, but good.
It's good to see you. I'm glad you're doing well. Thank you for coming on the podcast today.
No worries. You're welcome. Keeps me busy.
That's good. So let's start at the beginning. You found out someone who you had been with returned a positive result to COVID.
Mhm.
Surely this was a massive shock to the system.
Definitely. It was obviously not the most ideal phone call to wake up to from an app. It was probably the worst phone call I've gotten in a while, but yeah, it was just a big shock. You know, going 20 months into a worldwide pandemic, you just don't think it's going to hit this close to home.
How are you feeling and thinking as to how do I tell my loved ones I've been in close contact with someone who has tested positive? Was it the emotional response or the cool, calm, collected, factual response?
Pure emotion. Really, at that time, it's more or less, for me, I was just stressed. Like I instantly panicked. So, I didn't actually tell anybody. It was more they realized what was going on because of we all know what's going on in the news. So everyone knew, in at least Gabs and Kara. So at that point, Gab got tested earlier that day. So she didn't have to come with us, but me and Kara just got straight in the car, went and got tested just to see what the results would be, I guess.
Yeah. So I spoke to you and Gabby a bit after you found out, and it was a bit of a shock to me as well. So in my experience, I haven't had anyone in the circle be a close contact or any positivity. So straight away, I was thinking, wow, like where do they even go from here? What was the next steps after you found this out?
Yeah, well, because we live in, the Fairfield district and, one of the LGAs of concern, we've already been getting tested every 3 days, doing all that. So we knew first thing to do was get tested. So like I said, me and Kara, we both went and got tested that night. And then from there, it was pretty much just common sense, like clean everything, don't touch anything or self-isolate. So I went into the spare room for that night. And then from there, it was just about self-isolating. And if I had to leave the room for anything, whatever I touched, I'd clean. They do the same. So luckily, they've both come from healthcare work. So they know how to clean something. They know what's right, what's wrong. So for me, it was easy because I had that support, that knowledge. But I can imagine for some people, it would have been just panic.
What was your interaction with New South Wales Health at this time?
So I got a call from the bloke who tested positive. He told me first, so that's why I went and got tested. And then I was expecting a phone call either that night or early morning from New South Wales Health, but that didn't come till about, I don't know, you'd say 5 or 6 o'clock the next day. So at that point, I'd probably be close to 24 hours with no word from New South Wales Health. But yeah, I knew it was coming. The whole self-isolate for 2 weeks, all that, get tested, all that kind of stuff. But yeah.
So you worked out pretty much what needed to be done. So you're isolating, you've gotten tested, you're obeying the health orders, time's ticking away. What's going through your mind?
To be honest, at that point, I thought we were in the clear because I had gone 2 negative results in a matter of 3 to 4 days. And so I thought I'm in the clear. I thought I'm all good. But then obviously Tuesday came
So Tuesday came and sure enough, you found out that you've picked up a positive result. Tell us about that moment.
Well, Tuesday morning, I woke up with a bit of congestion in the nose. So I'd started to not panic really bad, but I was a bit panicked. So we went and got tested again. Didn't have to, but because I had felt like I had symptoms, I went and got tested. So yeah, so I went and got tested. We all went and got tested. After getting tested, obviously it's a bit of paranoia, bit of, is this going to be a positive result? What's going to go from here? Turned out that about midnight that night, both Kara and Gabs got their results back.
Yep.
Negative. So I was thinking, oh shit, where's my message? So I sat with my phone in my hands thinking, is it going to come through? Is it going to come through? No message came through. So of course, panic just sets in even more.
It's got to be a nervous moment for sure.
Yeah, you'd expect it would be. So it was. And then, yeah, like I said, didn't really get much sleep that night, got some, but not a lot. And then woke up at 7 o'clock in the morning, to a message saying that you're positive. But I don't know, it was weird at that moment when you're reading a message, just how quick your eyes can look and scan a message to just find one word. Because to be honest, I didn't read the whole message. I looked for one word and one word only.
You're looking for that positive, yeah.
Yeah. So saw that positive and then just panicked, really. Just started saying fuck a whole bunch of times. And yeah.
What were the next steps after you received the positive result then?
Well, luckily for me, at that stage, obviously you let everyone know who you've come in contact with over the past week, who you've come in contact with, just to let them know that you've tested positive. But for me, because I'd been doing the right thing and, staying home, and the only place I'd gone is work, I only really had to let my boss know, plus the people that I live with, obviously, who they already knew. And yeah, so it was just the whole time just pretty much waiting around for a phone call and thinking, what the fuck do I do from here?
Yeah, right. How was your experience with COVID though? Like your symptoms and really the state of your mental health going through the last 2 weeks?
Like it was shit, but at the same time, I'm obviously very grateful for not having any real major symptoms. Like in regards to symptoms, I pretty much had a bit of congestion in the nose. I'd say for maybe 4 to 5 days, I had congestion causing me to lose maybe 80% of my smell. I never lost my taste or anything like that. I maybe had a cough for a day, but like I'm sure I'm a heavy smoker, so it wasn't unusual for that. And then I had a bit of tightness in the chest for a couple of days of maybe earlier on. Probably lasted maybe 48 hours at most. And yeah, other than that, symptoms wise, I can't complain. But I can imagine because the tightness in the chest that I did feel, I felt was uncomfortable. And that was only a mild case. So for someone who had major symptoms, like major tightness in the chest or lack of breathing, it would be very difficult because I don't know, like the whole New South Wales health communication system really fell through quite quickly. Like I got the initial phone call on the day, maybe 12 hours after getting the positive result. And they pretty much just said, you're positive. We're going to do contact tracing. Are you self-isolating? My answers were yes. And then I asked, what do I do from here? They say, New South Wales Health or a nurse will call you tomorrow to give you an update, check on your symptoms and all of that. So I pretty much just waited for that phone call, and that phone call didn't come for 5 days.
Okay.
So yeah, you do your phone calls, you do your research, you call Service New South Wales. They say someone will get in contact with you. You call New South Wales Health, someone will get in contact with you. You call the Department of Health, someone will get in contact with you. You don't get any answers. And even then you have to be on hold for hours at a time. So like I said, If I was having major symptoms, it would have been terrible.
Yeah. So obviously through that time, trying to get a word from them is just got to make the anxious levels just climb up through the roof.
Yeah, because it's not like, for me, it wasn't like I needed confirmation on anything or I needed their advice or anything. It was more or less support to know that, you're not alone and that what you're doing is right. And because at the end of the day, you don't know what's right. You don't know what's wrong. You just do what you do. So yeah, so you just wait on their phone call to just for an update to make sure that what you're feeling is right and how you're progressing is right. But you don't get that.
Yeah. That's pretty poor.
Mm.
It is to my understanding, though, that you've been vaccinated. Did this help your mindset, even though the results came back positive? That surely you shouldn't be in the worst state?
Well, yes and no, because I'd gotten vaccinated 2 weeks prior to testing positive. But, hearing, watching the 11 o'clock updates and whatnot, they say that the first vaccine takes up to 3 weeks to take effect. So hearing that was a bit like, oh, fuck, really, I'm not protected right now. But at the same time, I didn't have any major symptoms. So I can't say that that was the vaccine or it wasn't. But in the moment, just knowing that I had the vaccine made me feel protected, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, of course it does. You think if you had something or some form of protection, it's got to shield you a little bit. So I see where your mindset is there.
Yeah.
So now you received your clearance to re-enter the world and leave isolation. How was that experience for you? And where do you realistically go from here now?
To be honest, I'm just paranoid. Like I've received information saying that, not that I'm immune, but it's highly unlikely that I catch COVID in the next 3 to 6 months because my body's got antibodies to fight off the virus and this and stuff like that. But I don't know. It's hard to explain because you you hear everything about what, like all the news, they talk about how to confront the virus and how to avoid getting it, but they don't say anything about what to do after you've had it, because Kara is still positive. I'm negative. I'm not that I'm negative. I'm probably still positive, but I'm now not contagious because I haven't had symptoms for 72 hours. But from what you hear and how deadly the virus is, it's like, but how do I know that's true? No one's come and checked on me. No one has, made sure that I'm okay. Am I okay? I don't want to go out into the street and infect someone because that was my biggest fear. I didn't want anybody else to get sick because you just don't know what's going to happen to them because there's so many unknowns.
Have you seen a GP since you've left isolation?
No. So I've spoken to my GP with the telehealth.
Yep.
So they're just phone calls and whatnot. She was very good. She gives you information that New South Wales Health didn't. But yeah, it's comforting to hear something from someone that you trust. So yeah, that was
bit of peace of mind goes a long way.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to our listeners about your experience with COVID?
Just stay at home. This isn't something that you want to pass on or anything like that. Like I keep saying, I wasn't affected by any major symptoms, but I was just one of the lucky ones. Like I could not imagine going through this experience and also being really sick. Like the mental strain that it causes, it's something that I've never gone through, that I never expected to go through, where you don't, simple things like going to get breakfast, going to make a coffee, they feel wrong. Like, and that's simple tasks. How does it go from here to going out into public, mingling with strangers, not knowing what they've touched, things like that. So from here, sorry, you just don't know where to go, kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I know people have got bigger problems, and there's a whole vast majority of things that are happening which angers people, but we did so well for so long, and it just, how we've gotten here at this time just doesn't make sense. It seems like people have just forgotten the humanity and just how easy it is to do the right thing because of their personal problems or whatever they've got going on. And it's hard, but we all want this to end. So we all have to come together, do the right thing. I don't think it's that hard, but I don't know.
Well, that was well put. You've definitely let your experience show here. I want to thank you for your time. Definitely appreciate you opening up on a very sensitive topic to yourself.
No worries.
We wish you all the best in your recovery. You're looking well from what I can see on the Zoom call. And I do look forward to seeing you again and having a beer when we can actually go across to our different neighborhoods.
Yeah, surely. Can't wait for that at all. Get the vaccine passports ready, mate.
That's it. Gabby?
Alrighty, guys. So you may have noticed that I took a back seat for this episode, and there's actually a reason why.
Our next episode will be part 2 of this episode, which will be from Gabby's perspective of living with 2 positive COVID cases and how she pulled through as a negative result for over nearly 3 weeks.
If you'd like to continue listening to our experience as a household and family to COVID-19, please stay tuned for our next episode. And until next time, we'll see you later, haters.